What's up guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the Marvel Legends Gameverse Miles Morales Spider-Man. At the top of the box we see a red spider logo. Onto the bottom, some product information. Down to the side, artwork of Miles from the game. Onto the back, Miles is getting ready to throw a venom bite. There's also a description over here of the character in the game. The rest of the figures in the Armadillo Build-A-Figure wave. Onto that last side is the same artwork. So let's go ahead and get him open. Out of the packaging, we see the action figure on the plastic tray. He comes with 2 interchangeable fists, an unmasked head, 2 splayed hands, 2 venom bite hands, as well as the Armadillo Build-A-Figure right leg. We also have a better look at the backdrop in the box. It's a cool spider logo with the bioelectricity running from its center of the body. The splayed wall crawling hands are cast in a black plastic with red paint for the fingers. Taking a closer look at the sculpt of the hand, he's got an armor piece on the back of the hand with grooves. The red paint appears to be applied quite thick onto the fingers. And that paint actually makes it a little hard to make out, but there are web lines on the fingers as well. There's very fine sculpting detail for the fabric pattern on the inside of the palm, as well as some crisscrossing of the web lines on the palm as well. We see the same level of sculpted detail on the fists as well, but this time the red paint is not too thickly applied on the fingers, so you can still see some of that sculpted detail like the web lines and the fabric pattern. This time also the red paint is applied more sharply, and you can see how it separates from the fingers so that there is red on the knuckles. The fists and splayed hands are articulated inwards as well as outwards. Of course, the fists as well as the splayed hands pop on just fine with the figure. The venom bite hands are cast in a vibrant shade of yellow translucent plastic with the bioelectricity trails running down the back of their hand. The hands are also sculpted with the same fabric texture on the inside of the palms, so there's a great bit of detail that's not sacrificed. And the bioelectric trails are also thin and skinny enough that they catch the light pretty well. The venom bite hands are also sculpted inwards as well as outwards. And the flexible ends of the bioelectric sculpt does not hinder the articulation at all. And finally, on his unmasked head, sharp paint applications for his brown eyes as well as his eyebrows, but they look a little slanted to the left on my copy. There's also paint for his lips. There's also sculpt for the short cropped hairstyle. However, the black paint for his hair appears to be a little messy as well on the right side of the head. And that unmasked head also pops on well onto the body. I want to point out that the venom bite hands also pop on quite nicely onto the comic Miles Morales figure. But because the new Gameverse Miles Morales is a head taller than the comic version, these hands actually appear just a little large for this figure. This figure is a brand new sculpt. One thing that stands out to me about the sculpt is that all the joints are pinless all the way down the figure, so that's pretty impressive work. His head is sculpted round and fairly simple with a subtle nose. There's a fabric texture all over that head sculpt, and that same texture also extends to the front of his chest. The design of the mask is undeniably Miles. White paint is really cleanly and sharply applied on the inside of the eyes, and that's outlined by a vibrant shade of red. The red paint is also applied with laser precision for the web lines around the entire head. So I'm really impressed with how clean all the paint turned out on the head. But moving on to his neck, that's where it gets a little odd. His neck is actually a separate piece, and that's attached to the top part of his torso. You can clearly see that line of separation for that piece. And Hasbro probably used a different piece for his neck because this plastic is softer and more flexible compared to the harder, more rigid plastic on the torso. This plastic has to be soft in order to insert that double ball dumbbell joint. So I can understand why they chose to do this, but I cannot say that I agree with this design choice. And the web lines printed onto the neck piece does not match up with the lines on the top part of the torso. So that's quite a bit of distraction over here on the neck. However, once you look past that neck piece, The rest of the red paint on that upper torso is once again applied with laser precision. The paint applications are amazingly clean and sharp. That red spider logo really stands out against the black outfit. So the paintwork on the torso is really fantastic. That really fine fabric detail actually just stops just above this V-shaped design element. The rest of the torso is just a smooth black plastic. Moving on to the arms, I do have a scuff over here on the shoulder, so you might just want to look out for that on your figure as well. Red paint on the top part of the shoulder, some sculpted design elements down a plain black plastic arm just to keep that arm looking interesting. And we see the same design on the twip hands as compared to the swappable open hands. Also that same fabric texture and red paint on the fingers and knuckles. Moving on to the back of the figure, once again that really sharp applications of red paint. However, I do have a chip on the figure and the paint does get a bit sloppy over here on that fat spider logo. It's a bit of a bummer, but we don't display the figures from the back, so I'm willing to look past that. Down to his legs, they are just cast in a plain black plastic all the way down to his feet. But there are enough design elements down his thighs to make it look interesting. And I do realize that there is a hit of red paint down the back of his ankles. And onto his feet, they're just having a really sleek design, kind of like a cover on the top part of his foot, as well as that same fabric detail on the rest of his shoe. For articulation, the hit's on the double ball dumbbell joint, so that gets you 360 rotation, good bit of tilt left as well as right, and he can also look down that far as well as up. He has butterfly joints at his shoulders that do feel a little gummy, but they do go forward that much, as well as backwards just a little bit. Once again, you can also see that red paint extending into that butterfly joint. Swivel hinge at the shoulders, so that goes 360, as well as coming out that far. And that's not terrific range for a Spider-Man action figure because he can't hit 90 degrees. Upper bicep swivel that goes 360, double jointed elbows, quite good range. Swivel hinge at the wrist that articulates inwards as well as outwards. Mid-torso ab crunch, so he can bend forward quite a lot as well as backwards. Swivel at the waist, 360. Ball joint at the hips, so that gets you quite a good spread. And no problems forward and backward as well. Thigh swivel, so that swings 360. Double hinge at the knees. Pretty good range. He can almost kick his own butt. Pretty functional ankle tilt upwards as well as downwards, and finally ankle pivot upwards as well as inwards. The articulation is pretty good on this figure. You can almost cheat a 4-point crouch out of him. The figure is fun to mess around with because you can change out the multiple hands as well as the unmasked head. The figure is well constructed and feels fun to pose in hand. So if you're a fan of Miles Morales or just the Spider-Verse in general, you should enjoy handling this one. This figure is quite tall for Miles and stands at just over 6 inches or about 15.5 centimeters. He's a hit taller than comic Miles, but a little shorter than Pizza Spider-Man. Here he is with Cosmic Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099, Green Goblin and Venom, Wolverine and Black Widow, some G.I. Joe Classified series, and some Star Wars Black series. I do like this Miles figure. He's got loads of accessories, the paintwork for the outfit is ultra precise, and he's great to pose in hand. The design choice for the neck is a little odd and distracting, and there are the occasional paint scuffs, but overall this should be a fun one to add to the collection. Please like and share this video, let me know what you think in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel for more toy reviews. Also, don't forget to check out my new TikTok account in the description below. Thanks for watching, take care and stay safe.